What's up, everybody, and welcome to another video. My name is Austin Haney, and I'm super excited to be making this video for you today. And in this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you some of my tips and best practices, and even some templates for recording lessons for your online classes. I'm super excited today, if you can't tell, and part of the reason for my excitement is, as I'm recording this video, I just now passed the 100 mark on YouTube. Woo! So thank you to mom and dad and all my sisters and my brother and the rest of you that are following along. I couldn't be more excited. So I'm titling this video, My Ideal Recorded Lesson. And I'm gonna kind of split the video up into three parts. So part one is we're gonna be sharing some tips and best practices, just like general purpose. Here's what I recommend if you're recording a video. And I've got 5 tips I wanna share with you. Part two, I'm gonna share with you kind of like a template for how you might organize any online recorded class that you're doing, or it might also work for you if you are doing live classes. So that's part two, the template. And then part three is I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about some tech tools that I love, specifically how to record your classes, and also using this awesome new website called EdPuzzle. So stay tuned for all of it. So to begin with, I've thought of 5 tips that I just think are super useful if you're trying to develop your own videos and web content. So the first tip is that your videos should be brief. Now, I actually did a little bit of research on this, and the studies say that attention span really falls off on videos actually at the 2-minute mark. And as I look at my own videos that I've made on YouTube, I can see that that's true. You guys, why are you not watching to the end? Okay, but video, like our attention rate falls off at 2 minutes. And so I have actually seen that people are recommending, like hardcore scientists are recommending, that our videos stay somewhere between the 6-minute and the 15-minute mark for instruction. What I would say is, let's say that you're planning, like content-wise, you need to teach for 15 minutes. I think that you should really break that video at least one time in half, and potentially you could break it twice in half so that you have like 3 different parts of instruction with some like chances to work and chances to pause the video and actually apply stuff or have a conversation or whatever in between. Tip number 2 is pretty similar to tip number 1, and that's that your videos should be concise. Now here's the difference between being brief and being concise. Brief means it's short. Concise means it's well said and it's said clearly and concisely. So unlike me in the majority of my videos, you don't just talk and talk and talk and over-explain and just beat around the bush and over-explain the instructions. You are concise and to the point with what you want the students to do. Here's what I found in my own class. I can make things way more complicated than they need to be, okay? Sometimes all I want them to do is circle something. But I tell them the whole history of what I want them to do and all this kind of stuff and how they can use this in their life. If we're making online videos and we're making them concise, we need to cut some of the fluff and get right to the point. Tip number 3 is that your videos be outcome-based. This means that your videos have some sort of goal. There's something that you're moving your students towards, whether that's a task, whether that's a produce level activity, whatever it is, there needs to be a goal in mind. We're not just making videos for entertainment, we are making videos for education, and that means we need to be outcome-based videos. Tip number 4 is that your videos should be engaging. Now, of course, there's all sorts of ways to build engagement throughout a video. It could be by just like being funny, getting up close to the camera, telling a joke, humanizing your experience. It could be by making your video short and deliver more per minute that your students are watching the video. It could be dialing back the teacher talk time and giving your students more of an opportunity to practice, giving them more chance to interact with each other. It could be that instead of using the traditional textbook example of Bob and Larry go to the store and Bob asks, hey, what are you buying, Larry? Instead of using that, you use 2 NBA players if your students are into that. Or maybe instead of just talking about general topics of interest, you ask students to bring in their makeup and talk about the makeup that they like and different things like that. Whatever it is, there's different ways to build an engagement, but I recommend that you think about it and you find a way to build it in. And then finally, tip number 5 that I have when I'm making online videos is I want my videos to be visually appealing. For me personally, that's part of the reason why I record with a camera. You don't have to do that. There's ways that you can get great videos just using your computer, like through Zoom or on QuickTime, and I've actually got a tutorial about that if you would like to click up here. But you can record on Zoom, you can record on your phone. There's so many ways with the technology we have, but I think that you should put in at least a little bit of energy into making your videos visually appealing for your students. Okay, so those are the 5 best practices that I've thought of, but even as I'm saying these, I know that there's gotta be some great tips for teaching online that I just left out. So what I would love for you to do is if you have a great tip that didn't make my top 5, I want you to drop it down below in a comment so that way our whole little cohort here on YouTube can all be learning together and growing together. Moving on though, I wanna share with you a little template that I've been using when I'm making my videos for my class and just kind of like structuring the way that I do my videos. Of course, you probably heard of things like the present, practice, produce. I made a video a while back about something called the PACE model that I think is really cool. You can check that out by clicking up here. But right now I've been kind of developing this little 8-part process, and I think that if you kind of move through this process 1 to 8 with your students, that you're gonna not only like deliver better instructions and better quality, but your students are gonna understand, and it's just gonna be beautiful. So if you're ready, here it goes. Step 1 is you introduce the topic. So if your textbook has something laid out thematically, or if you've got just a topic that you want to talk about, or a little skill, grammar point, vocab exercise, you need to start by introducing the topic. You can do that. The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to move into talking about your outcomes. So what do you want the students to be able to do? Remember to word your outcomes in a student-friendly way, not in the teacher's way, okay? So it's not the teacher will teach the students how to do this. It's the students will be able to do this by the time that they do this activity, and it should be measurable, okay? I've also got a video about evaluating your course outcomes, so check it out up here. So once you've identified the outcomes that you're gonna be using for this particular topic or task that your students are gonna be working on, it's time to move into the instructions. So for me, instructions really have 3 main parts. There's the what, there's the why, and there's the how. So what do I want my students to do? Why do I want them to do this? And how is this going to be evaluated? And also, how is this going to be used in their everyday life? I want to give them some context and application that they can think of as they're doing the different activities. Is going to make it way more meaningful for them in their minds. Step number 4 and number 5 in the process, I've kind of combined. Step 4 is that you provide some major points, like so if you're doing a grammar concept, maybe you talk about the specific thing that you want them to know. And step 5 is that you give some examples. Now I find with ESL students, if I overteach those main points and underteach those examples, sometimes it's all theoretical and they don't know how to use it in their everyday life. At the same time, if you only give them an example and you don't tell them any key points for what they're talking about, then what are they supposed to do? Just mimic and replicate what you've already done? No. So we want to mix step 4 and step 5. We want to provide the key point. What are we trying to show them? And give them some examples. You can reverse these to your own liking, but make sure there's a key point you want them to take away, and there's also an example. Once we've kind of modeled these different things together, it's time to move on to step 6, which is my personal favorite and kind of the focus of this video, and it is pausing for interaction. So as we're recording these different videos, or even if you're teaching synchronous, it's super important that you don't just talk the whole time. As great of a talker, a teacher, and an explainer as you are, the students need a chance to practice. The way I relate this in my own life is it's like playing basketball. I could tell you how to dribble until my mouth is numb, but until you actually go get a ball and practice kind of the feeling of bouncing it up and down, it's just not gonna make a whole lot of progress. And so we've gotta give them a chance to pause and to practice. I'm gonna come back at the end of this video and share a tool called EdPuzzle about how I'm personally using it this semester to work on that pause and practice and to do it a little bit more effectively, but you should be building in chances for interaction, talking, conversation, or even just like working through a handout throughout the course of your videos. Once you've given your students ample time to practice, maybe have a conversation with a partner or work on a handout activity, it is time to move into feedback. Okay, and students need this. Let's say you give them a matching activity and you tell them, match A, B, C, and D with 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you give them a chance to pause, they practice, they do their best, and then all of a sudden you just move into the next topic. Well, they're gonna be like, well, did I get any of that right? Was this helpful? Was this applicable? How is this helping me at all? Why am I just doing busy work? Why? Okay, they're gonna have all those different kinds of questions. And so we need to make sure that we have some follow-up, we have some feedback. This could be that you're giving them the answers It could be that you're answering some questions that they may have. It could be that you're extending this topic or this new skill / ability that they've been working on, and you're extending it to a new area, a new context. You're asking them to produce, to do something new with this different knowledge that they've learned. Whatever it is, have a way that you're taking the information that they just learned and practiced and actually making sure that it's in there. It's in that mind and it's going to stick. And then finally, tip number 8 that I have for you is as you're kind of wrapping up the activity, give it a little bit of closure. Whether it's a short summary of what we worked on in this video or this class or in this particular topic, or if it's to go do some homework and to apply this skill in a different way than perhaps you just did in the handout or in the video that you were working on together. Whatever it is, just a way to summarize and kind of apply the skill in a new ways. So I'm actually going to kind of do that right now and just summarize what I've shared with you so far. So we began with 5 of the best practices for when you are recording your videos for online use, specifically for the classroom. And then I gave you a little 8-part process for the actual order of events within your video. So we began with introducing the topic, then we moved to identifying clear outcomes for whatever task or topic that you're going to be talking about. We talked about instructions, we talked about having main points and examples to kind of supplement your instructions and to contextualize them. Then we moved into a chance to actually practice the pause and practice technique that we're going to talk about in just a second with EdPuzzle. We talked about follow-up, and then finally, we are talking about summarizing and applying the information that we've learned differently. Whew, I'm out of breath. But I think that 8-part process is going to be super helpful for you, so I recommend that you try it. Just try it in your next video and let me know what you think. So the final thing I want to do in this video is just to tell you a little bit about EdPuzzle. And EdPuzzle's awesome. I've been using it for 2 weeks now in my class, and I'm still working out some of the kinks, as I'm sure you will have to do as well. I recommend watching some tutorials. I put a link to the help page down below in the description. So take some time if you're going to actually use this program to get familiar with it. But basically what EdPuzzle allows you to do is to take a video, and where usually in a video you would just have to tell your students like, okay guys, pause the video right now and talk to a partner, and it's just more time you kind of explaining everything and all of that kind of stuff, and then who knows if they're going to pause it, who knows how long they're going to pause it, all that kind of stuff, right? What you can do with EdPuzzle is that you can build in breaks throughout the video. And so this is automatically cutting up your video into smaller sections, which makes it, again, more digestible, more brief, more concise, more clear. You're working on one big thing at a time. But at those breaks, you have some different options. So the first option is you can ask your students a multiple choice question. Now in EdPuzzle, these different multiple choice questions are graded. So I recommend that you only do this if every single student is going to watch the video by themselves. Because let's say the students are watching with a partner, then only the student that's clicking on the answer is going to have a grade, and it's just going to be a mess, okay? So I recommend you only do that if the students are watching them by themselves. But some other options is it gives you a chance for free response. So kind of similar. Only recommend really if they're doing it by themselves, but it does give you a good chance to like evaluate what the students are thinking about if you want to ask them an open-ended question at any point. And then the third option is you can just leave the students a little note. So for example, the video automatically pauses and then you give the students instructions for how long you want them to talk to a partner, what you want them to talk to the partner about, or just like whatever else you want to say them in a little note. And since the video is already paused, they're going to have to manually click it to unpause it and to continue watching the video. And another option is you can prevent your students from just scrubbing through your video all the way to the end or like skipping things like that. You can make it where they have to watch the video continuously. I'm not really sure whether it's better to do that or to give them options. But for my class right now, I'm making them watch the whole video. There's already a lot of great resources online that teachers have made as far as like how to get the most out of EdPuzzle. So I'm not going to take time to repeat the system right now, but I will add some of those links down below in the description. And what I can say in my own personal 2 weeks of using it is that it's great. It syncs seamlessly with Schoology and also Edmodo. If you're using Google Classroom here in the US, it'll work with that as well. With those people that are in the US, if you want to pull in a YouTube video or Vimeo video or something like that, that's awesome. For us in China, we can't pull in those kind of videos, but we can upload our own and make our own videos much, much, much more interactive. So I recommend that you check it out. Check out some of the helps down in the description below. And I hope that this video has just been helpful for you in thinking about your lessons and recording your online classes and even just putting together a little sequence of events for your videos. I want to say thanks again to everyone who has already subscribed. I love making these little videos. I love this little office setup that I'm in right now, and I can't wait to be back with you for another video. Happy teaching. Bye, guys.